In the first part of the solution, we managed to get our code to pull in the live stock data for the selected stock name. And then we looked at the difference in price between yesterday and the day before yesterday, and then we worked out the percentage difference. Now we have this if statement, which will print get news if the percentage difference is greater than a specified amount. Now, I've put 5 here just because ideally, if you were monitoring a particular stock, you'd probably only be interested if it changed by a large amount, like 5 or 10 or 50% set by you. But at the moment, because we're testing these things and the Tesla stock is only moved by 1 point something percent, then this is actually never going to be true. So I'm going to manually adjust this down so that we can continue working with the rest of the challenge. So now on to step 2 of the challenge. The first part is, instead of printing get news, we're going to use the news API to get articles related to the company name. The news API is newsapi.org, and we can start by getting hold of an API key. Once you've signed up, you should get a free API key, and we're going to paste that into our project. Now we can start looking through the documentation and seeing how we can use this news API. There's a number of endpoints, as we can see. There's top headlines and also everything. These are the 2 main endpoints. Now, everything is better for article discovery, whereas the headlines tend to only have a limited number of headlines. I've tested both of these and I found that the everything one is more likely to give us a news piece for stocks that we're looking for, because very often a lot of these companies and their stocks don't actually make it to the day's headlines. So this is what the query looks like. This is the endpoint and these are the parameters. Now, if we scroll down, we can see a number of request parameters. Q, which is the keyword or phrase to search for in the article title and body. Q in title is to search for in the title only. And then you can limit the sources or the domains which you want to search or exclude certain websites. And you can also specify the date, time, language, and a number of other things. Now, the only required parameter is actually this API key. Now, in addition, we're probably going to want to use one of these request parameters. There's a lot of stocks that get lumped into these analysis articles. So I think it'll be more specific if we can actually check the title of the article for our company name. So let's get started putting this API to use. Up here, we've already got the news endpoint. And we're going to delete this print statement, and we're going to use the request library to get hold of some data from that endpoint. And then we're going to add our params. Our news params is firstly going to contain our API key, and notice how it's spelt. When you're using parameters, you have to make sure that any capitalization or spelling must match their requirements exactly. So the API key is just going to be our news API key that we added previously. And then we're going to provide a query in title as well. And I'm actually just going to straight up copy it because I'm not sure if that was an I or an L. That way we don't make any typos. Now, the query we're going to search for is actually our company name. Because while we can search for the name of the stock, it's actually better to search for the company name because most articles tend to include the company name rather than the stock name. This is going to be the params that's going to go in here. Now we're going to get hold of our response. And I'm going to print out the response as a JSON. If you take a look at the documentation, they also tell you what an example output would look like. Firstly, we have a dictionary with status, total results, but most importantly, articles, which is a list. In that list, there's a bunch of dictionaries which contains things like the source, the author, title, description, and each of these articles are an item in this list of articles. we can actually get hold of all the articles just by tapping into the news response.json and then passing in the key articles. And now when I print that out, you can see it's a list, first of all, and then each article is a dictionary inside that list. Now we've managed to complete to-do number 6, and we can move on to to-do number 7, which is to use the Python slice operator to create a list that contains the first 3 articles. And as a hint, I've linked to the Stack Overflow page where they go through the slice operator in quite a bit of detail, actually. If we want to only get the first 3 articles, then our start is probably going to be from the beginning, and then we're going to loop to stop -1. So that's going to be :3 because lists start counting from 0. Like that, and now if I print these 3 articles, you'll be able to see them if you click on this soft wrap, and you can see the 3 items, 1, 2, and 3. That's step 2. Now we've managed to use the News API to get hold of the first 3 articles that talk about this particular company name. In the next lesson, I'm going to go through the final part of the solution, which is step 3, and to figure out how to send the relevant parts of the articles to our mobile number.